Well, there are a couple of other jobs, and more than a couple, that we can be cracking on with. The hose that we can put back onto that aft head, the breather hose for the holding tank. While we're in that forward sail locker, we can start to trace the wiring back from the bow thruster battery to find out why the shore power is not sending a trickle charge to the bow thruster battery. First things first, got to empty all the contents of the locker. You always have to do that with lockers. Oops. And this tool's up here for another reason, which we'll get into after we've done this. Well, it's a quick change of clothing because the shorts I had on were too thick and heavy, and I'm going in this locker, so I've got my shirt off because it's the hottest part of the day. There is hardly any wind here today, and we can feel that Greek summer is just around the corner.
Yeah, it's like an oven in there, isn't it?
Yeah. First things first, take the floor up. Battery's been in here for a couple of weeks now without a charge, so we're just going to see how it held up. 12.56, I think it was about 13 point something, so we've got 12.56, which is still good. So it's holding its own, but we do need to obviously find out why it's not getting any charge from shore power. Yeah, so we've got two lines come to here and disappear off back
into the nether regions of the boat.
And that'll go to the circuit breaker for the bow thruster, and then it comes back. So one of them is the power feed and the other one is a recharging cable. Let's find out what's in this box. Actually, it might not even be anything. Where's it go? Does it just... No, this box ain't got nothing to do with it, because the black goes all the way back there, and so does these two reds. We'll have a look in here anyway, because we've not looked in here.
Yeah.
But it's good to know what we're working with.
So with that, do you think that would be for the lights at the front?
Oh, this would be for a lot of things at the front.
Okay.
So, ooh, look at that there.
What have you found?
Corrosion.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Good thing you looked, hey?
Yeah, that's going to need cleaning up. Once again, one boat job leads to another. Here on this terminal, we've got super bad corrosion. So I'm going to have to take that apart, give it a good clean, and then whack some Vaseline or some sort of grease on it. Just asked Ansha to unplug us from the shore power and isolate all the batteries, so there should be no power to here.
What's happening, Baz?
Well, nothing's ever simple, so now I've got to have to take this whole unit away so I can get the nut and bolt that holds onto the back of this unit, so I can get that out so I can clean it up. As I suspected, this is held on with some sort of nut and bolt situation, but because all the cable trunking is cable tied onto the bulkhead, I can't get my hand in behind there, so I just have to give myself some working room basically. I can feel it, but I would imagine I'm gonna have to bring the others out because I'll never get it back on because I've got no line of sight. Yeah. So
well, at least you've got plenty of cable ties.
I have. Well, after a lot of huffing and puffing, I managed to get the two nuts and washers off this connection here, and it doesn't look that bad, but they definitely need cleaning up and spraying with an anti-corrosion liquid of some sort. So we'll go and do that, put it back together, and then carry on trying to find out why this isn't getting a charge, which is what we came here for in the first place. Here we are back in the forward sail locker, and I've cleaned up the washers and nuts, and they're not too bad. The corrosion wasn't as bad as it first appeared, so I can put these back into their place, and then I can put the cover back on, and then we can forget about that and move on. Next! And of course it's come to the end of the day now, and we still haven't got any further along with the job we came in here initially to do, And that was to find out why the battery isn't being charged from shore power. Early start tomorrow, I guess.
Heather, this washboard makes washing laundry by hand so much easier. Thank you.
We're currently on shore power, as you can see, and also we've got 13.8 volts at our batteries. And when we look over here at our DC volts amps, here we have the setting for the battery starter motor. That's 13 point whatever it said. And here we have the batteries on board, 13 point whatever. But the battery auxiliary goes to 0. So I'm guessing that that is the battery for the bow thruster. Now when we look in here at our shore power battery charger, circuit 3 is flashing red, circuit 2 is fully green, and circuit 1 is looking a bit dodgy. So what I'm going to do is I am going to switch off shore power, switch off the battery circuit breakers, and see if I can get inside this unit and look at the wiring there to see if there's anything visually wrong that I can instantly fix circuit 3 with. In order to get full access to the battery charger, I need to take this panel of wood off. But this panel of wood is held in at the bottom by the bench seat base, and the boat builders, for some unknown reason, made this piece of wood one whole section that I've got to remove in order to get that little section of wood out. Here on this side they were quite clever, and they made a little divider. So if I wanted to get that off, I'd only have to take that bit off. I'm starting to sound like a whinging pom now. Well, here's a little tip for you if you own a Jeannot Odyssey 45.1 circa 1995. Don't bother spending half an hour taking all the screws out of the bench base, because they've also glued it down. And it won't budge. Well, it looks like I can't get full access to get into the battery charger, but I can see where the shore power comes in on the left hand side, and over here we can see where 2 red live cables come in and 1 black neutral cable. So it appears that circuit 3 is flashing because there's actually nothing attached to it. So I'm going to assume that the bow thruster battery does not get charged from the battery charger. It probably only gets charged when the engine is running, and that's not going to be for a while. Oh well, time to put everything back together. Shore power is back on, and it looks like circuit 1 and circuit 2 are now showing a full green status, and of course circuit 3 is going to flash red for the rest of its life.
That's not a bunch of ropes, that's a bunch of wires. What are you going to do with that, Baz?
I borrowed these from the workshop on site, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these to extend the reach of my multimeter cables, because obviously a multimeter has only about this reach, and the battery in the forward sail locker obviously gets its charge from the alternator when the engine is running. And right now the engine's not going to be running for the foreseeable future, and I don't want that battery to go flat. I want to try and connect that battery to get charge from our battery charger when we're on shore power. In order to find out where the lead from the battery goes and ends up in the back end of the boat, I need to attach this cable, run it through the boat, take it down to underneath the companionway steps where all of the black and red cables meet, and test each one until I find the one that relates to that battery there. Sounds easy, doesn't it? Well, that was a very quick job. I found it already.
Say that again! Say it again!
That was a very quick job on a boat! So this one here, if you come close and you can have a listen to this multimeter making a beeping noise. So this one's not. This one's not. This one is. And this one is. So both of those two are somehow connected to the forward battery. So I'll trace where both of these wires go. But basically all I have to do is run a cable to the battery charger around about this thickness, I would think. And then get it connected to here or here. Once again, I'm in the forward sail locker, and I've just put the battery tester onto the battery, and we've got 12.59 volts. So now I'm going to use the walkie-talkie to ask Antje to put the shore power on, and we'll see what we get. Okay, flick that switch.
Okay, flicked.
Alright, just testing it now, hang on. And bingo! I'd call that a bit of a win. We now have this battery being charged by shore power. While I was in the forward sail locker yesterday looking at the bow thruster battery situation, I also noticed that the little plastic bottle that holds the lubricating fluid for the bow thruster has this metal
ring that attaches it to the bulkhead, and one half is completely rusted away and the other half is ready to go. So I think it's a trip over to the boatyard workshop to see if Manolis is around, because he might be able to manufacture one of these for us.
Kalimera.
Kalimera. Manolis!
Kalimera, Manolis.
Can you make one of those? Mm-hmm. You can make? Okay. Okay. Well, that was super quick of Manolis manufacturing that little piece of metal band. He's just showed me the whole thing. It's super flexible like the original was. He's just got to drill out the screw holes now, and a little punch hole at the back end where the band hooks onto the plastic bottle. He's here to come back later this afternoon and it'll all be done. He's a pretty good fella. He knows his stuff. Manolis in the workshop here at the boatyard came up with the goods. Check this out. It's almost a perfect replica of the original piece. So I'm just going to put that back on the little plastic tank that holds the lubricants for the bow thruster, and tick that little job off the list. So that's great. And also thank you to all of you who remind me to put a little bit of the diesel bug juice into the jerry cans for the diesel that we carry as spare on either side of the boat. Had slipped my mind, so thanks. And there it is, back in place. That should be good for quite some years to come. Just on this edge here, it's a little bit sharp and a little bit longer than it used to be, so I've just bent this edge back a little bit to make sure it's not going to have any rubbing against the freshwater tank fill hose. Right, next job. We've also got the replacement length of air breather hose that goes to the blackwater holding tank installed at one end.
What's that man tool that you've got now, Buzz?
Our friends Renate and Wolfgang over on Meerkat of Cows, the catamaran just over there, kindly lent us this hot air blower, which will enable me to heat up the pipes to easily get them back onto the holding tank. So thank you very much for that. And also I'll use this in getting the pipes back on in the aft head. Okay, we've got the tank back in position. I'm just going to make sure it is secured, and then once that's done we can start heating up these pipes and reattaching them where they should go.
Yeah?
Yes.
Oh, well done. It's a bit of a struggle.
It's pretty warm in there, especially when you've got a 2000 watt heat gun blowing away. Anyway, that's the bottom hose on, the outflow hose. That means I can stand up now and get at least a bit of a breeze while I put the top three hoses on. Okay, all the hoses are back on. All the hose clamps are nice and tight. That means we can now put everything that usually lives in this locker back in this locker, which frees up a lot of space on deck, in the after cabin, and
in the shower as
basically, and in the shower. And basically that means that this whole area is a job done. Alright, let's move the stuff. Well, here we are coming up to the middle of May, and I can really feel the heat of the sun here in Greece as we get closer and closer to the peak of summer. Of course, a lot of you would be making plans for your summer holidays if you're allowed to travel, and I know someone who is allowed to travel. That's our latest patrons, Ron and Deborah. You guys enjoy your motorcycle trip. We'll be following. Thanks for giving us that link to follow exactly where you are, and we look forward to seeing some pictures as well. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave us a big thumbs up, and of course subscribe if you haven't already become a subscriber. Click the bell icon too so that you get notified of future video releases from Sailing ABC. Stay safe out there.